Now, I'm not one to gossip, but I will bring you the tea. Welcome to Chronicle Speaks.
So Diddy may be cleared on the RICO charges, but you can't deny that his name will forever be tarnished. The No Diddy jokes, along with the baby oil label, will follow him for the rest of his life. Now, Diddy was found not guilty of the charges of racketeering, conspiracy, and the sex trafficking. However, he was found guilty on 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution. Now, Diddy's lawyers argue that he never made a single dollar from prostitution, stressing that the Mann Act was meant to target people like pimps or people that were running large-scale sex operations. They also claim that he never had sex with any of the male escorts and didn't personally arrange their travel, portraying him instead as a voyeur who liked filming his ex-girlfriends with other men. Diddy's team is requesting either an acquittal that will throw out the convictions entirely because the law doesn't fit, or a new trial request to at least give him another chance without the spillover evidence from the RICO and the trafficking charges. But the prosecution is firing back. In their latest filing, they say that the jury got it right, that there's plenty of evidence proving prostitution. They argue Diddy was the mastermind behind everything. He arranged the travel, paid the escorts thousands of dollars, and directed the acts, sometimes even joining in. And they point that this wasn't just consensual play, there was also drugs, coercion, and even blackmail involved. To the government, this wasn't some lifestyle choice or art form. This was straight up prostitution across state lines, and exactly what the Mann Act was created to cover. Diddy currently has 43 days until sentencing, and he's currently looking at up to 20 years in prison, 10 years for each charge. We're going to get into this story and so much more, but before we do, please be sure to subscribe to this channel and hit the bell for notifications so you don't miss out on any news regarding this case and so much more. Now let's get back into it. At this point, Diddy is definitely feeling like all's my life I had to fight. He's coming up on a full year behind bars, with bail being denied multiple times, and there's a big possibility that Diddy's still looking at some very serious prison time, with these 2 convictions still lingering over his head. Now Diddy believes the RICO charges were only added as a layer of pressure that was used to cloud the judgment of the jury. Diddy is wanting to throw out these 2 convictions, and if he cannot, he wants a whole new trial. He wants to start back at the drawing board. RICO was designed to go after organized crime, mob bosses, cartels, and criminal enterprises. Diddy believes that by attaching this label to him, prosecutors created this image of Diddy as not just an individual fighting accusations, but as the leader of a full-blown criminal organization. So what he's trying to say is that when the jury heard the case, they weren't just looking at individual acts like parties or travel, they were actually looking through the lens of racketeering, and that perception alone could have shifted the scales, making it harder for Diddy to argue that this was just entertainment or that there were misunderstandings. Diddy and his team argue that the Mann Act was misapplied in his case. They said it was vague, unconstitutional, and shouldn't cover his conduct. They claim his activities were more like adult entertainment than prostitution, and they also said the evidence wasn't strong enough to convict him. In the government's new filing, they feel like none of these arguments belong in this type of motion. If Diddy thought the law didn't apply, he should have argued that before trial, not after a guilty verdict. They insist that the Mann Act is crystal clear. Prostitution means sex for money or its equivalent, period. And according to them, Diddy orchestrated everything from recruiting escorts, arranging travel, paying cash, and forcing Cassie Ventura and Jane into repeated freak-offs and hotel nights. They're stressing that there was ample evidence that supported the jury's guilty verdict, and Diddy directed the escorts, filmed and used videos as blackmail, and even used financial threats to control the women. So key details from the trial evidence according to the government. They state that Diddy transported women and male escorts across state lines and internationally for these events. Cassie Ventura testified about years of control, abuse, and being forced into multi-day drug-fueled sex sessions, and Jane described similar hotel nights where escorts were flown in, paid thousands, and forced to perform, and both women said Diddy filmed them and later threatened to release the footage as blackmail. Witnesses also described Diddy's violence, including beatings that were backed up by photos and video evidence. The government is also rejecting the idea of giving Diddy a new trial. They said that the split verdict, guilty on the Mann Act, but not guilty on the RICO and trafficking, showed the jury carefully weighed the evidence. There is no unfair prejudice and no legal grounds for a do-over. So prosecution is urging the judge to deny Diddy's motion entirely. They said that the jury got it right and the evidence was overwhelming, and Diddy's arguments are just attempts to rewrite the law after the fact. So what happens next? The judge will review both sides' filings and decide whether to overturn the verdict, grant a new trial, or let the conviction stand. Historically, these types of motions are almost never granted, meaning the odds are stacked against Diddy. So if the judge denies this request, which more than likely Judge Subramanian will, the next step is sentencing, which will happen on October 3rd. This will be on just the 2 Mann Act counts, and Diddy is looking at up to 20 years in federal prison. And because the judge has discretion, he could face a sentence that reflects not only the convictions, but also the evidence of violence, coercion, and the drug use that came out during trial, even on the counts where the jury acquitted him. Now, we all know this case has already reshaped how the public sees Diddy. For years, rumors about the freak-offs floated around the entertainment world. Now these rumors have turned into federal convictions backed by testimony, travel records, financial receipts, and videos. The government paints him not as a music mogul throwing wild parties, but as a man who weaponized his money and power to exploit women and control everyone around him. And it doesn't stop there. Even after sentencing, Diddy can appeal to the Second Circuit, but appeals are long, expensive, and hard to win. Meanwhile, he'll remain behind bars, likely in the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, where he's already spent nearly a year. Bottom line, the government just made it clear Diddy's legal war isn't ending anytime soon, but he's running out of options. This is no longer about music, fame, or image. It's about whether one of hip-hop's biggest names will spend the next decade or more in federal prison. So I have a question for you. If the judge does indeed decide to deny Diddy's request, do you feel as though Diddy can possibly beat this on appeal, or do you feel like this is the end of the road for him? Leave a comment, and you know how we do. We'll talk about it down below. Talk to you guys later. Bye. As always, thanks for watching, but before you go, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, like this video, and hit the bell so you don't miss out on any of my new episodes.